Yeah. So let me address
Before you even stress.
the one thing that I mentioned before. Whenever you want your teammates to do something, I suggest clicking they're alive. So do you have portraits on the left or down here?
Down there.
Yeah. So I click like let's say I wanted Warwick to gank for me. I click Warwick is alive, and then if I can see at least I say attack at least. Then I ping assistance, and that's like what I call like the three ping method. And I
Okay.
find that when you do those three pings, it becomes much more likely they listen to you because they actually understand exactly what you're asking, right?
Mhm.
Like for example, if I let's say you're a roaming bottom, and you know you can get this kill if Nami just flash ult to guarantee that she lands it. Like I'd ping on my way bottom, but then I'd ping Nami's alive, flash, and then press tab and click ultimate is available. And I've I've had very high success on people listening whenever you do like correct pings like that, as opposed to like spamming on my way or just pinging like normal pings. Like it's much clearer when you do it in the way I explained.
Here you see my Ezreal running into the Blitzcrank.
Yeah.
Oh wait, this is gonna be a nut moment.
Oh,
It was this game, wasn't it?
maybe not.
Oh, it wasn't this game. Fuck, there was a Nami I had on my team. I got a 5-man bubble in that bush there.
Uh,
Level 1.
okay. So I kind of want to. I'm actually just gonna straight up skip this. We're talking about CSing here. Right. We're talking about mid game CS, and if I watch your laning phase, I'm gonna end up not talking about it. All right. So we're gonna watch this game from a really like a more of a macro perspective, but also a tempo perspective.
Mhm.
So when it comes to macro, what's really important is to understand what your champion role is and what your ideal goal in terms of um like what's your job, right?
Hmm.
So what is your job on Nika?
Well, for me at least, it's to try and help with engage, or slow them and E them, and then try and get R in, maybe do some damage. That's what I kind of think about it. And
So
I don't think it doesn't do that much damage like in general, but I know she has a really great like CC opportunities with like the build and everything.
okay, so you said like the follow up engages, and do you normally find yourself going into ult or defending with your ultimate?
It depends. I'd say it's about 50-50. Either I stay next to our ADC and just wait for someone to try and dive them, or I try and if I see them all grouped up and already stunned from like my E or some other form of CC, I'll go in and stun them for an extra long time.
Yeah. Mm. Do you have any other jobs?
Don't know. Confusion with W. I don't know.
You do have some confusion. What I'm asking you, which people in the chat probably already know, because most of the people in the chat I coach. I'm kind of asking you what is Nika's archetype? Because if you understand your archetype, then you will understand like what are you capable of, which is normally what your job is, right?
Hmm.
And I know archetype might be a foreign word to you right now for League of Legends, and but Nico, depending on how you build her, the way that you're building her is
Hmm.
so you're building her. The moment you have stopwatch, you're in Hourglass. You're a Juggernaut champion, um, and you do have the ability to get picks. In an ideal scenario, you can engage, but that's not normally the way it's gonna go.
Hmm.
And so you're a pick champion. A lot of the time, you're back. You're very like you're similar to like Vladimir, like champions that sit in the back until like it's their moment to go in. You know.
Yeah, that's how I usually feel.
And so you're a backline champion, but you're also a pick champion. You in the way that you're building a champion, you're not burst, not really. You can try to follow up on CC pretty well, and very easily you're a pill champion and a disengage champion, right?
Yeah.
Now that's like the main archetypes. Whenever you have like a small role, especially in this game, you're not really a wave clear champion, but you're the best wave clear champion on your team, so that's your
Yeah.
job as well. Um, Which again, if you're like the wave flight champion for your team, that's going to start indicating your job in terms of the macro, right? That most likely means you need to be middle,
Mhm.
right? So we're getting to the point where we think we need to be middle. Our job as a pick champion means we want to establish vision. We want to play with other champions, especially burst champions, with us to try to set up picks. Because you can pick people off, but you can't burst them. Don't get those two things confused. A lot of people do. So, because the way the terminology in League is if like let's say you're standing in this bush and someone walked into you and you killed them, you would say like you picked them, but that's actually bursting them. The difference is a pick is like Blitzcrank is one of the best pick champions in the game, right? He can
Mhm.
change people and you guys get a kill. But if someone walked into Blitzcrank, he wouldn't kill them. So how could the best pick champion in the game not do something that you just said you could do with Neeko? The reason is because they actually there's two different things. Killing someone when they walk into you is a thing that any burst champion can do.
Mhm.
Isolating and putting someone else in on the enemy team in a very bad position so that they die is a completely different thing, and that's what a pick is.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So Camille ulting and then pushing everyone away is a pick. Blitzcrank pulling someone is a pick. And he's sitting in this bush. Even Ezreal or Lucian or Syndra or blah 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 sitting in this bush and then or Graves and then killing someone is a burst. Okay. To
Okay.
make sure that's clear. That's a very common misconception. So what we've learned so far is that you probably need to be middle naturally. Um, when we probably want to sit in the back until we try to follow up. Who are we going to follow up on this team? We actually don't have someone great to follow up because we don't have engage on this team. And in which case we're probably going to have to follow up based on picks. We have a lot of pick, we just don't have engage, right?
Yeah.
And then now from the enemy team, they also don't really have engage. They do have pick and they have a lot of pick and they have a lot of dive, which is almost just as good as having engage really. Um, and so I would say just naturally looking at the archetypes of both teams, it's more likely they're gonna use your ultimate defensively. Like who are you diving against? Like the Blitzcrank's running into you, the Lissandre's diving into you, the Rengar's diving into you, and the Chinimir's diving into you.
Mhm.
Right? So we're not, and we don't have engage. So in this game, it already looks like we're gonna be playing more of that backline role and that pill disengage role. Right?
Yeah.
And you see, like, do you understand how I break that down? I'm gonna send you a video for archetypes after the lesson.
Yeah, sure.
But that makes sense to you? So
Mhm.
we already are getting a sense for like what is our job, and that's gonna start implementing, or we're gonna start using that to decide like what items should we build, where should we be on the map, you know?
Mhm.
That's why it's real important. This is exactly how you start playing the game at like a higher level, is by really understanding what your job is. Now earlier I talked about your pick archetype, because that's the only thing that we haven't talked about really now. Is I mentioned that you should try to play with someone because having pick is nice, but if you don't have the damage to kill him, it doesn't normally do anything, right?
Mhm.
And so a lot of the times you're gonna want to play off of someone on your team. Like you and Warwick roam together. You and Edro sit in a bush. You and Urgot do something together. Neeko, when built in this way, is not that much of a solo carry. She normally enables. I mean, her kit is almost all about enabling someone else, right?
Yeah.
Just like Galio, like a lot of champions are like this. The protector is in a what's it called, TFT, right? So she's a little bit different than some other kind of mages that are pick, where they can kind of do everything in isolation. That's not going to be true with Neeko. You're going to want to work with your teammates. So let's just watch the way you like think. So keep all that in mind, and let's watch the way you play and whether um, the, like your decisions really make sense for what your job is. Okay.
Okay.
Also, you don't really become very Juggernauty until the stopwatch, by the way. So, also, we wouldn't want to be a Juggernaut against this composition anyway, because we already talked about this is more of one of those comps where we're going to want to play that backline
Yeah.
disengage. All right. So we're roaming towards the dragon. I don't. So I see you guys have Urgot down here. So you actually have numbers. This is called
Mhm.
tempo. It's the lesson I just did. Next is a silver top laner. I think you'll call me. All right. So I really don't like this because if this is warded, you're allowing her to dive on you, right? Now I would have to go back to see whether you know where Rengar is, but if you don't know where Rengar is, that was actually really risky. I don't like the fact that you're positioned towards the threat. Like you don't know what's over here, and you're positioned over here. Like why wouldn't you
Okay.
be? This has to do with the concept called line of
Well,
scrimmage.
I knew Sandra was farming mid there, so I wanted to make sure she wasn't gonna come through river.
I mean, even at this point, it's the same thing though. Like
Okay.
this is the potential threat, right over here. And
Mhm.
if you're playing the backline archetype, the threat is creating the line of scrimmage, and where backline champions need to be is perpendicular to the line of scrimmage. So you actually want to be in this location, like
Okay.
far, like well, my point is like down in this area, like as opposed to close to this wall. Now let's say there was no threat. Like let's say you think you got the threat, you can think you can kill her, then the line of scrimmage is still here. It just it's more so on her side because you're the one actually applying the threat, not her. I don't know. This is a completely different concept already called line of scrimmage, and it's also based on archetypes. Everything kind of ties together. So I had to teach you kind of bits and pieces until you get them. You get it all. Okay. So let's see if you're doing your job. That was good. So now you guys have tempo. Well, you have tempo again, and let's see how everyone plays this out. So you guys 5-man for the dragon. This actually goes into allotment. If the person I was just coached is still here, is it? We didn't get to talk about this in your lesson, but or I said allotment, but I meant delegation. If you don't think 5 people are required to get this dragon, then it's better that one of you leave, right? Because then you're kind of
Mhm.
wasting gold. Because there's gold that one player could be getting somewhere else that they're not getting, right?
Yeah.
Now, delegating and separating players is extremely like good when it's used correctly, but it's horrible when used incorrectly, right? Because let's say you
Yeah.
leave, then they die and they get the dragon, and the enemy team gets the dragon. It's
That's
horrible.
what I was scared of. I think at this point,
Yeah.
because
So
even though because their spot lane was really ahead.
yeah, it's a double-edged sword for sure. Um, but it is a skill you want to start developing because there's some gold being left on the table whenever you always do everything as a full team if it's unnecessary. I think this is a great example. So, I mean, this actually seems like it's working out decently for you, but I'm going to show you why your positioning here isn't what you'd want, even based on like the things that we're already talking about, right? So
Mhm.
you're here. Let's draw it middle. Assume it's 5v5 middle, okay?
Mhm.
We can do this. Who's the tankiest player on your team?
Urgot, I guess.
Okay, so we'll put Urgot here.
At this point, he's 2 levels ahead and has item.
And then who's the next?
Warwick.
Okay, and we'll put him over here. And then who's next?
Me, I guess.
And we'll put you over here. And then the edge roll and the support, right?
I would say Nami's like the most, yeah,
So
most vulnerable.
if I'm assuming the line scrimmage over here, so you're assuming the enemy team's over here, right?
Yeah.
In which case, again, in this game, we're trying to play Neeko in more that back line, the Vladimir, sit in the back until we know that we can go in kind of way, right?
Yeah.
Ezreal the same way actually, where him and Lucian. There's a lot of champions like this that play backline until they have that opportunity to go in, right? And so we're actually trying to chill back here, based on the line of scrimmage. And again, the line of scrimmage is the mid location between yourself and the threat, and a little bit based on your safety. So your because the safety is also encouraging you to want to go in this direction, right? And so those are like the 3 things you need to understand is there's the line between your threat and your safety, okay?
Mhm.
Now we're going to apply that to the fight that's happening. And I notice I'm deviating a little bit right now, but all of these concepts are important. um, so again, remember I drew the threat about over here. Now the threat is like this, right? Because we see one player over here. I should use those for them. You see a player over here, we already know that at least one of these their players are coming from that direction, right? And so this is what I can even give you the benefit of the doubt. Like right now, your threat would be something like this, right? And
Okay.
we have all of our players, and so the positioning around this dragon should be the Urgot, the Warwick, then you. You see what I mean?
Mhm.
And so if you watch this, and we're looking at our threat, and we know that there's threat here and over here somewhere, and which means the line of scrimmage is something along these lines. Why would you be the closest person?
I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
So if you understand that that's not your job is not to be the frontline tank, um, then especially with no vision, like you have this is like so incredibly risky. In which case you'd understand that this is not your position. You need to go away from this line of scrimmage. Again, like if this is what you thought, your job is to be over here, so you need to like go around, right? Allow these players to be ahead of you. It might again, this is where safety comes in. It's maybe a little bit safer over here, so that's why it's not always based on like your threat. Your safety's over here, so you might want to position maybe over here. This is where you'd go based on just threat, and this is where you go based on safety, and so you try to probably mix somewhere in between, right?
Okay.
Which is very different from where you're positioned, right? And so as we continue, now the line of scrimmage right now is still basically the same. Now the moment it's Blitzcrank, the line of scrimmage, like the threat is it's not even this. We don't care about this. This threat is so high that he becomes the number one thing we need to get the hell away from. Because if you get pulled, you're just dead, right? So
Yeah.
because you don't have
Why
enough information.
That's why I threw out the W to try in case you try to hook me
Yeah, yeah.
or try to hook anyone else.
And
And it popped through Luden's there. That's funny.
so I actually like that you throw the E, although it's still super risky because you could have got pulled while throwing your E, and it wasn't necessary either because
Mhm.
you guys have numbers. Um, and so if you just play the fight like normal, like a normal fight, you just win, right?
Yeah.
So normally when that's the case, you don't need to try to go for anything fancy. If you had a stopwatch, I'd be more okay with it. If you had flash, I'd be more okay with it. When you have none of those things, doing things that are risky are questionable at best.
Okay.
Um, but I do want to mention that your E here is not actually not that bad from a threat perspective because you know who's also not positioned well? The Callista,
Callista.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
because she's also right next to the line of scrimmage, just like you are. Because as this is going on, like if you imagine a line, there's a line like right here, right?
Mhm.
This is the middle point between both these teams, right? Maybe a little bit more skewed for you guys because your safety is this way. So it's something like this. And you're on the line, which you shouldn't be, but she's also on the line, which she shouldn't be. So you guys are both just mispositioned. And so the E's not bad in terms of her being out of position. The issue is that you're also out of position. If you were in the right position, then throwing that E from like back here would have been nice, right?
Yeah. Nami runs away. I just.
So I actually think her positioning is not horrible. Again, based on the line, like she needs to be in the safety point, so she needs to be over here or like over here. Um,
Mhm.
Warwick obviously needed to go somewhere and to get off the dragon, right? And then Ezreal should have came earlier. But the only reason I'm even mentioning your teammates is so that you can see the difference in like where these players should have been based on the line of scrimmage. Because you can start seeing why players are gold and not higher rank. Because
Yeah.
they're not positioned well.
Oh, an Ian. Oh.
Well, if he has no threat, again, if there's no threat, then there's no line. That line of scrimmage doesn't exist. Like, let's say there's zero chance these people kill you, then there's no threat for you guys,
Mhm.
right? In which case, you can position however the hell you want. So if he believes there's no threat, then it's actually fine for him to Ian. The issue is that when players Ian, there is threat, and then they die. And he actually had enough evidence to know there wasn't threat because Lysandra was dead, Rengar was dead, and Tryndamere had no teleport. So his EM is actually good. All right, anyway, to get back to macro,
When
because
I called that worth because we got 2 for 1 with the Drake. I was like, I was happy with that. I remember.
yeah, I'll take it. Again, mainly I'm trying to make sure you try to play your best in terms of what's happening,
Mhm.
for sure. Because that's how you're going to improve, right? Alright, so you're leaving your base. It looks like you're roaming top, which is weird. Where are you going? You are going top. Yeah. Very weird. You'd have to have like
Or
such a.
I didn't. If the Tryndamere was fed, and I didn't want him to turn around in the Urgot and just kill him.
So this goes into tempo, so we can finally just start talking about tempo here. The tempo is a little bit different from macro. Macro is like the holistic, like entire, like you're thinking about. It's a game gonna be a 1-4, a 1-3-1. Do we prioritize team fighting in certain areas? Like macro is like really big stuff. Tempo is more so reacting to what's happening on the map. And so you're saying there's some percent chance that Tryndamere turns to kill Urgot, right?
Yeah.
And then there's some percent chance that he kills Urgot. And there's some percent chance that if you go there, you will stop Tryndamere from killing Urgot.
That's what I think. That was my reasoning at the time. Yes.
Now, the issue is that a lot of those 10% end up making this a not very high percent chance for you to make a lot of gold. Because even in the chance, like even if it was a 100% chance, you're saving your team 300 gold, right? Because they would go up 300 gold if Urgot died, right?
Yeah.
And but if there's only like a 30% chance that he turns around, and a little bit of a chance that you even save him, then the 300 gold on average is going to end up being like not a lot saved, right?
Okay.
And then if you start comparing what you make on average from here to the guaranteed gold you'd get from getting this wave and then getting the blue buff, which is already 150-ish gold, then you start realizing chasing after stuff is a waste of time because there's guaranteed gold to be had. That makes sense?
Okay.
So now again, if you thought there's a 100% chance you can go there and save them, then it starts being better. But like, so you miss like 60-ish gold on the cannon, and then a little bit more gold from whatever's after that.
I didn't take the blue earlier because I remember the Urgot was. I think Urgot, yeah, Warwick was threatening to go AFK if I take his buffs.
Oh. I normally just do things anyway. I don't care. Alright, so you get your wave, you rotate. Again, the same kind of rotate, where you have to think about how useful are you being here? Alright, things just got real weird because you started walking back and forth, so it seemed like you didn't know what you wanted to do here.
No, I did not. I don't think.
So again, if you think about this just in terms of like what your job is, you still should not be in front of Urgot, right? Your job is not to get in front of Urgot. Your job is to chill, protect them out. That's fine. You walk real close. And then I think you were trying to see whether he ran past you so you can go on to the Lysandra. I would assume that's what you're doing.
I think so.
And then Rengar showed up.
Yeah. I was like, shit.
Yeah. Okay.
He stopped right short of.
There's a lot of concepts happening at the same time. I'm just trying to think which way to say that, which way of explaining this. Number one is your positioning originally was wrong, right? You just shouldn't have again, if the line of scrimmage is here and you're in the front, you're messing up. Unless you have Hourglass and you're okay with having to use it, then it's different, but you're not at that point yet. Now, the next thing that you do that's really the big problem is that you walk through like your threat. So again, think about the line of scrimmage here. The line of scrimmage for you is like this line, right? Because you have threat, which means in this case your safety is over here, right?
Yeah.
But you try to walk through one of your points of threat through the line of scrimmage. So you can just think like conceptually, you ran the wrong way. That makes sense?
Yeah.
And so you should have walked this way. And if you wanted to flash, you should have flashed that way as well. Now at this point, flashing in this direction is the best because once you got through him, the line of scrimmage became right here, right?
Mm-hmm. I just flashed him.
And so this is, I know we're talking about fighting a lot, but it's actually tying a lot into CSing because if you're always trying to protect your teammates, and then mispositioning and losing your health, you're not even giving yourself the opportunity of being lane long enough to actually CS. Like you've gotten like no CS in the last like 3 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And that's because you're like you're not going for fights where like, oh, I'm definitely gonna be able to be here and be useful, or I'm definitely gonna save them. You're like, maybe I'll be useful. I'll go over here, as opposed to getting guaranteed gold. This is the reason why your CS numbers are getting low. Or else it wouldn't be an example 3 times in a row already. We're only at 17 minutes in the game, which means we're only in the mid game for like 4 minutes, and for basically the entire mid game, you've not been in lane. What are you doing? Look at the map.
I don't know.
What's going on here?
I don't know where any of them are. I wanted to see if I could find them.
Again, your job is to be mid, push out your lane, rotate maybe with somebody on your team, not trying to protect someone, but instead going with somebody to go set up a pick. And you're not doing your job. That's why we started this by talking about like, what your job is. Because after you think about what your job is, after you understand the line of scrimmage, then you can rewatch your own game and be like, huh, this doesn't really make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
This is not what I'm supposed to be doing right now. Like, right, you're playing this as if you're a burst champion. Now, I like that your teammate eventually came with you. But I also don't like that you're not doing the kind of pings I explained, right? So, I think you just did like a normal, I see it. You did like a normal ping on Rift. No one on your team knows what the hell you mean at all. No clue.
I
Right?
feel like if someone's pinging the Rift Herald, that means that someone's there.
No, you
Just
ping.
in general.
Tell me what you're supposed to ping.
Assistance.
No, there's actually a better way of doing it. Think about like how do you make it very clear what you're thinking about. What's your worry? Your worry is that they're doing the Rift Herald, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so make it clear. How do you make that clear to your team? Besides just typing.
Enemies have vision. Request assistance.
No. You hold tab. You click Rift Herald is alive, and you ping danger. And then you ping on my way. And then you ping assistance. That makes it way clearer. Right? Or you sing Rift Herald's alive, danger, and then you ping what you actually want, which is like Warwick's alive, assistance. Wouldn't that it would make it so much more clear what you're saying? Like incredibly more clear. Like right now, all I know right now is there's a ping. If I was talking to my chat, if I was picking my nose, like I don't even notice your ping. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so I already don't like the kind of direction you're walking here. Because if there's people in here, the line of scrimmage is going to be here, right?
Okay.
And you're walking into the line of scrimmage. So I'd rather you be patient and walk around and stay behind this guy. Because this is not the way this is supposed to look. I'm surprised he's doing this by himself. Now, we have threat over here. Our line of scrimmage becomes in this area. And we need a position over here. Now there's a shit ton of threat coming over here. So this guy starts becoming not an issue, and the line of scrimmage becomes here, and we need to get the hell over here.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, you guys just commit. Again, you have no flash, you have no hourglass. And just like this fight. This is actually weird, because technically the best location to kite now is like in this corner. But that's just the way the cookie crumbles. But it looks like you're just going to be CC'd the entire time.
Yeah, I got CC locked.
Right, I have time to do one more because I have one more lesson after you. But I want to see whether literally for the entire 5 minutes in mid game you do nothing, or not nothing. You're just not doing your job, right?
Yeah. Sometimes I lack the knowledge of when to pick Vigar or Neeko. I think
They both have the very similar jobs though.
Yeah, but Vigar can do a lot more damage than Neeko.
Yeah, he can do more burst plays where you wait for people and kill them. Yes.
Yeah.
Which you could do on Neeko. You just have to build her differently. Yeah. Let me just tell this guy 1 second. So, oh, what I was gonna show you is that if your games on average are lasting like 25 minutes, and for the first
Hmm.
5 minutes you're mid game, you're not doing anything, then I can imagine why you wouldn't be winning as many games. All right, so you're in lane now and you're pushing. Your first time you're doing your job. I like this. I like that you didn't run to go help your bottom or top. You stayed in your lane. You did your job.
I saw there's a tower easily just being able to be killed there. It's like, ooh, money.
I really don't like so. Just something to help you survive more. Play. Think about that line of scrimmage. Think about playing at your range all the time. Like, there's no reason for you to be melee ranges. Like, I mean, after your 30 at least. Like, you could like right now. There's no reason for you to be melee. You're just basically giving them a higher chance of killing you if they gain. You could be doing the same thing you're doing now, just incredibly safer. You know,
Mm.
like this right here. This is trolling. Just get back.
Oh shit, I forgot. He didn't take the bait.
Okay, so found ourselves in a little bit of a scuffle again. You have no abilities, no flash, no hourglass, and you're melee range with the Rengar. And you have no backup, at least not anytime soon. And he does. Uh-oh, misclick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that I was trying to path away. I accidentally autoed the scuttle crab and
Yeah.
I ended up auto attacking it.
But again, I think it would be very easy for like a coach or like yourself to like watch the game and just think about that and ignore the important part. The important part is the same exact concept we've been talking about the entire time. The line of scrimmage. Like your positioning based on the line of scrimmage doesn't make any sense, and you're just overcommitted to trying to help your teammate. I if this shows up 4 examples in a row on the first replay I watch, this is the one thing that you need to start focusing on, and this is what's gonna help you climb. This is your problem, man. If it shows up this many times in a row, it's pretty obvious to me
Probably
this is
will.
your problem. Your problem is overcommitting to protecting people and not positioning like a backline champion.
Okay.
Because you are. Again, you're the Vladimir. You don't always want to be melee range. You want to eventually blow their ass up.
Mhm.
But I think a part of that is also what I was saying earlier. Is like you're playing as if you're the Juggernaut the entire game. This often happens to players who play like scaling champions, where like late game they have a certain archetype, and they're used to playing that way, and then they get into a new game and they still play as if they are that archetype when you're not anymore. You don't get that archetype until you get those items.
Mhm.
So you have to play in one way at first, and then after you get that hourglass, then you become a little bit more. It's okay to be in this position.
All right.
I mean, it still wouldn't be in this case because again, you have just by looking at the map, everything looks horrible, right? It's like, huh? My backline champion is melee range with an assassin, and she has no abilities besides her ult. She has no flash. She has no hourglass. And the enemy team has 4 players in this area, and we have 2. This all looks bad, right?
Mhm.
And you had plenty of time to know that too. The entire time we were running away from this guy, all those things are still true. And yet you still run in. And it's because of either 2 things. One, I guess 3. Either you still think you're a Juggernaut because maybe you were a Juggernaut in the game before this when had more items. Um, in which case you probably have more Dirt Birds, more Juggernaut. But before those things happen, you're not. Or you're not really, it's like a map awareness mistake, like not understanding line of scrimmage, not understanding the threat. Um, or you just have what's the word? Like the personality type, I guess, to like always try to help someone when sometimes you gotta let people die, dude. If this guy's doomed, there's 0 chance this person lives.
Mhm. I was just trying to see if I could auto him to get the glacial on him. I think, but then he smited him and just killed him.
Hmm.
'Cause
But
I think if you had the glacial on him and he passed right like towards bot, he would have survived maybe.
but then you die. 'Cause
Yeah.
you're not getting away.
I guess it's true.
Rengar's gonna hippity hop through all these bushes until you're dead.
That's very true.
Like in this case, he has flash. he has teammates. Like there was no chance you guys live. Right? That guy, that edge roll, he had his chance. I already know a way that edge roll could have lived, but he didn't do it, and so he's doomed. But that's not on you. What's on you is how do you play out the the fight? Like that was a circumstance that was addressed to you, and how did you play it? And you played it wrong. And so by what you have to work on is understanding archetypes, so you understand what your job is. Specifically, understanding what your job is on Neeko and how that changes based on your items, which is all has to do with archetypes, which I'll give you the video for. Also, I'll have a video on line of scrimmage because that's definitely something you have to work on. But I think as you understand archetypes, you'll naturally get better at positioning. But the line of scrimmage will help you do that even better.
Okay.
And then the last thing is just having a different mindset towards being okay with letting your teammates kill themselves.
Okay.
All right, man.